guys, it's Jessie here. I'm back with another video, and in today's video we are going to be wrapping up May's budget with week number 4, paycheck number 4. It's the paycheck my husband received on May 26th. I wrote June 26th. Apparently I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm already thinking about June's budget, which I'm going to be setting up in a video next week. Getting everything set up for June. So excited. I always love moving into a new month. Just feels like there's plenty of new possibilities in terms of the budget. So be on the lookout for that video. But for now, we're going to go through the budget for this paycheck. So today is actually Friday when I am filming this. I need to get this video posted tonight. But I actually just sat down and wrote out this budget yesterday. Went to the bank this morning. A little bit behind because we went away to our camper this weekend. Had a nice little family camping trip, which was so needed. But it kind of put me behind. We didn't get home until Wednesday. So I'm kind of in a hurry to get this done and get these bills paid. A little bit behind, but that's all right. So let's go ahead and go over this paycheck. So the income total we're working with this week is $12.50. If you're not familiar with my videos, that $12.50 is not just a paycheck. That's a paycheck. It's money rolled over from the previous week. It's money pulled in from other various resources sometimes, whether it be credit card rewards. We do use some credit cards and pay them off every month to accumulate rewards. So my husband is paid based on commission. His paycheck is not consistent. He doesn't get the same amount every single week. And so we kind of float money week to week to make sure that our bills are always covered. I always round down our estimated income, and then I round up the expenses in some cases so that I always make sure that we are covered, all our bills get paid, etc., etc. I also budget week to week, paycheck to paycheck, using the Budget by Paycheck Workbook. Those of you that watch my videos every week know all this. You're probably rolling your eyes wondering why I'm repeating it, but I do have some new subscribers, so I thought I would go through the spiel real quick in case this is your first time watching and you weren't familiar with how I do my budget. So we are actually covering all of the bills between the 26th of May and my husband's next paycheck. He gets paid on Tuesdays. His next paycheck comes in on June 2nd. So I need to make sure that I'm covering all of the bills that fall between that period, and that includes like our lot rent for June, etc. All those kind of typical first of the month bills. So even though this is a May paycheck, we are covering some bills in June. I hope that makes sense. Here we go. So let me zoom in a little bit and we'll talk about the bills. So under the bills category here, I have all of my bills for the week as well as any expenses that we pay using our checking account or our debit card. So essentially anything coming out of the bank that we're not doing in cash for the most part is here under bills. So I have our lot rent. My husband and I own a mobile home. We had been paying a mortgage on it, but we actually paid that off in March, which was very exciting. I will link that video where I talked about that up here in a card or down below if you want to check that video out. But while the mortgage has been paid off, we do still have to pay the lot rent every month. We rent the lot essentially that the mobile home sits on, and that is $510 a month. Our water bill also comes due the first of the month, so that I have budgeted $45. I think the actual bill came in and it's somewhere in the $35 range. So like I said, I always round those expenses up so that I know I'm covered. I will come in and put the actual totals in once I pay those bills, which I will do as soon as I'm done filming this video. Patreon, I pay $2. I'm a patron of a gentleman that does weather for my area. He is far more accurate than anybody on the air in terms of meteorologists that I watch, so I'm happy to give him $2 a month to help support him. DTE is my electric bill. We are on a budget plan with DTE as well as our gas company, where they have averaged out our bills. So we pay the same amount every single month. For DTE, it's $175. For Michigan Gas, it's $40. Once a year, they go in and they recalculate, and that number may go up or down based on our usage. But it's a really great way to make it so that we're not paying a ridiculously high bill in the summer for our electricity when we're running our air conditioning, and then a super low bill in the winter. Just kind of evens everything out. I feel like this DTE bill is really high. It's always been high here. We have a very small home. We do have a lot of electronics and things that we plug in, but it still seems high. One of these days, I want to get DTE to come out here and check everything and make sure that we're not being charged more than we should be. I just haven't gotten around to it. So anyways, there's that. For groceries and gas, I've budgeted $0. Like I said, we just got back from our camping trip. We still have a ton of groceries and things. We just need to get through until next Tuesday, which, you know, is just a few days from now. So I didn't bother buying groceries this week. We have a lot of stuff we're going to eke by until next week. And the same with gas. We just filled our gas tank, so we don't need gas money this week. So $0 for those. For household, I always budget $30. That covers all of the household items that we order through Amazon. We get the majority of our household items like toilet paper, paper towels, cleaning products, cat litter, that sort of thing through Amazon Subscribe and Save. It comes automatically once a month. I don't have to think about it. Works out great for me. For other bills this week, my Discover minimum payment is due. That is the credit card that, I think that's the credit card we're working on next in our debt snowball. We just paid off a credit card last week, so I need to actually pull out all of my statements and stuff and figure out what is next on our list. I think it's Discover, but I could be wrong. So regardless, the minimum payment's due that this week, and it's $43. And then lastly, for bills, we have our campground electric. We own a camper that sits on an annual campsite. We pay both to have our camper there, like an annual fee, but then we also pay for electricity there, and that bill came due, and it was right around $30. I think it was actually like 24 something, but like I said, I always round up. So our bill total is $875. When we take that $875 and subtract it from the $1,250 that we started out with, we have left over $375 to take to our next category, which is our cash envelopes. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you know that our cash envelope category is pretty puny. We generally have more cash envelopes than this. However, with the pandemic going on, we're not really leaving the house too much, so I don't need spending money. We don't need cash for, you know, cups of coffee and stuff throughout the week, because we're not going to do that, with the exception of my husband, who is still working full-time. He works in the plumbing industry as a sewer and drain cleaner, so he's on the road a lot, going from, you know, house to house, clearing drains. So I like to give him a little bit of cash to grab himself a lunch, or he's a smoker, so he uses that to buy his cigarettes, you know, whatever he wants. This is essentially his allowance. We don't call it that, but that's what it is. I give him $40. He can spend it on whatever he wants. So that's the only one of the cash envelopes. I long for the day when we can go back to some semblance of normal and have cash envelopes again, but for now, it's just that one. And that's $40. So when you take that $375 that we had left over after we paid all of our bills, you subtract the $40 I'm going to give my husband. That leaves us with $335 to take to our next category, which is sinking funds. So if you are not familiar with sinking funds are essentially just little mini savings goals that you set for yourself, and you put a little bit of money away towards these goals as often as you want, whether it's every week, every month, every 2 months, whatever it is. These are just future expenses that I know are going to come up at some point, so I'm saving a little bit of money towards them sporadically as I see fit. I have a lot of sinking funds. I don't put money away for every single one of my sinking funds every single week. It just depends on what our goals are, how much income we have that week. I've chosen to fund these 6 sinking funds this week. I don't put a lot of money away towards them, just a little bit, but it adds up very quickly. You will see when I do my envelope stuffing at the end, some of these funds have grown quite a bit over the last few months as I've added money to them here and there. So the categories we are going to focus on, let me move this leftover total up here, $335. The categories we're going to work on this week are our campground. I mentioned that we have an annual site that our camper sits on, and that has an annual fee, so we are putting money away towards that. We're going to put $60 towards that fund. Christmas, we're saving for Christmas 2020. We've been saving essentially since Christmas of 2019, a little bit at a time, and we're going to add $30 to that fund today. Holidays, so that is any of the holidays outside of Christmas that we need to prepare for, things like Easter, Thanksgiving, that sort of thing. We're going to put just $10 towards that. Not a lot, again, but like I said, it all adds up. Home maintenance is going to get $20. That is just a fund that I created to put money away towards home maintenance, obviously. P.O. box, that is obviously, sorry you guys, I just lost my train of thought. P.O. box, I have a P.O. box that I pay for annually once a year, so I'm going to put $10 towards that. And lastly, vacation is going to get $20. We used quite a bit of money out of our vacation envelope for that little camping trip I talked about, so I want to start adding more money into it. Sorry you guys, I'm distracted. So yeah, all of this adds up to $150. So we're putting $150 towards sinking funds this week. When we take that $150 and we subtract it from the $335 we had left over, that leaves us with $185 to take to our next category, which is our extra debt. Our debt snowball. So I mentioned at the beginning of this video that we have some credit cards that we use every single month, but then we pay off. So we're not carrying a balance. However, we do have some credit cards that we do carry a balance on that we are actively trying to pay off. And that's where the debt snowball comes in. We pay a little bit every single week towards the credit card that has the lowest balance on it. After that gets paid off, we take that minimum payment that we were making towards that credit card and we snowball it in with this amount here, and that becomes the debt snowball payment for the next lowest credit card on the list. That's something I learned from Dave Ramsey. I don't follow all of Dave Ramsey's budgeting principles, but that's one that I could get on board with. So that's what we have done to pay off our debt. We've paid off multiple credit cards this way. So our debt snowball total for this week is $128. We were paying $120 a week, but like I said, we just paid off a credit card last week. So I took that minimum payment, which was $35, I think. I divided it by 4 since there's always at least 4 weeks in a month. And I added it to that 120, and that gave us 128 for our new total. I have been taking that debt snowball amount in, sorry you guys, my air conditioner just kicked on. It is so super warm in Southeast Michigan today, I have to have it on. So hopefully it's not too distracting. I don't know if you guys can even hear it, but for the past few weeks I've been taking our debt snowball and pulling it out in cash and just putting it away in an envelope, because with the pandemic going on, I felt like sending every extra dime that I had to a credit card company might not be the best idea, just in case we should need that money for an emergency. We do have an emergency fund, but I was just being super conservative. But I decided moving forward, we're going to just start sending the money immediately to the credit card again. Michigan has started to very, very slowly start opening things up again. I don't feel as concerned about my husband's job stability. I really wasn't concerned in the first place too much, but it was just like a precaution. I feel like we're moving into a place where I feel more comfortable just sending this money off again. I can always halt that and start, squirreling away cash again if things take a turn, but for now, I'm not going to take this in cash. I'm just going to send this $128 right off to whatever credit card is next on our list. So that's $128. When we take that $128 and we subtract it from the $185 that we had left over after we paid our bills and took care of our envelopes and our sinking funds, we are left with $57. That $57 then gets taken to our next category, which is extra savings. So in our extra savings category here, we have Savopoly. That is a fun savings challenge printable that I found on memotherandi.com. It sort of looks like a Monopoly board. Every week I roll a dice, I go around the board, and the property that I land on corresponds with an amount that I save, and I just save that money away for a rainy day or for a fun purchase or really for whatever I want. So while my sinking funds here are savings goals with a specific goal in mind, my extra savings here with Savopoly is just savings for whatever. I don't have a specific goal in mind. I just pulled some money out of this Savopoly fund this past week to buy a new blender because I needed a new blender. That's just what I decided to do with it. It's extra savings. So with that $20 for Savopoly subtracted from the $57 we had left over after we paid everything else, we are left with $37. And I'm just going to take that $37 and roll it over to next week. Like I said, my husband's pay is inconsistent, so we roll over money week to week just so that we are covered. So that is it for my budget for the week of May 26th. I then go through and figure out which of these categories I need to take cash out for. So in this case this week, it's my cash envelopes and my sinking funds as well as my Savopoly. All of that gets pulled out in cash, and I put it away in various envelopes here in this accordion folder, which I will show you guys when we get to the cash envelope stuffing. But I need certain denominations for that. I can't just figure it out and decide, okay, I need $210, because if I just go and pull out $210, I'm gonna have two hundreds and a 10, and I can't split that up between envelopes. And that is where this cash envelope breakdown comes in. This is another one of the worksheets from the Budget by Paycheck Workbook from the Budget Mom, which I absolutely love. It is my top resource for my budgeting here. And I just write down the categories that I need cash for as well as their amounts. And then I go through and break it down by category. So, for example, for my husband, I pull $40 for him. He likes to take it in 20s, so I take two 20s out for that. The campground is $60, so that's a 50 and a 10. Or I could take three 20s. It just depends on how I want to break it down. So I just go through and figure out how I want to break down each category, and I break it down this way, and then I count up the bills at the bottom. This information I then transfer to a little teller sticky note here that I also purchased from the Budget Mom, and then I just take this to the bank, I give it to the teller, she gives me the cash, and we are good to go. So I have my cash here. I've already given my husband his $40 so that he could take it with him to buy himself a lunch, or like I said, whatever he wants. And so the rest of this I'm going to go ahead and stuff into my accordion folder. So let's get on to that portion of the video. All right, you guys, so I put my planner off to the side and I've pulled in my accordion folder. This is that I keep all of my cash in, whether it be our sinking funds, our extra savings. The only cash that doesn't go in here is the cash envelope money, because that is money that is spent every week and replenished every week, whereas this money we save for longer periods of time. So in my little accordion folder here, each of my sinking funds has a tab, and I have labeled them using a label maker. So each one gets a tab, and I just keep the money separated by category in this accordion folder with a little index card where I write down how much money I have saved, how much money I've put away each week, how much money I've taken out, and that just helps me keep track of it. Like I said, I'm holding on to this money long term, adding to it here and there, so I want to make sure that I'm keeping track of what is in their fund. So I have my cash here, and we're just going to stuff these little categories here. They're not really envelopes, but that's just kind of what I call them, envelopes. So we're going to start out with campground. Like I said, I did pull money out for my husband, but I've already given that to him, so that's not here. So we're going to immediately go into sinking funds, and the first one we're saving for is our campground. So in our campground fund, we currently have $140. I don't know if you guys can see that there. And we're going to add another $60 today. So we're going to add a 50 and a 10. And we're going to stick that in this fund here. I just like to put my denominations in order. And then I always like to count the money out and make sure I have in here what I have written on my card so that I know that everything is accounted for. So with the paycheck that we received on the 26th, we added $60. 60 plus 140 is 200. So we should have $200 in here if I've done everything accurately. So now we'll just count it up. 100, 50, 70, 90, 200. Perfect. That means that my math is accurate. Everything is right on track with what it's supposed to be. And then this money just goes right back behind the campground tab in my little folder. We keep this accordion folder in my safe here at home, by the way, so that it is protected and isn't going to come up missing or stolen or whatever. Okay, next up is Christmas. And my Christmas fund, I actually, oh, excuse me, I've got the hiccups. My Christmas fund, I actually keep in a little paper envelope that I downloaded, printed, and put together. This is from the Budget Mom. She has so many of these really cute printable envelopes. She has so many budgeting resources. I'm just going to link her website down below. I highly recommend that you check her out. She also has a YouTube channel and an Instagram where she talks all about budgeting. Highly recommend it. So in my Christmas envelope, you can see here, I have a goal of saving $1,000 by sometime in November of 2020. That way I have time to actually do my Christmas shopping. So far I have saved $500, so I'm halfway to my goal, which is exciting. And we are going to add another $30 today, which should mean that I will have a total of $530 in my envelope here. So we're going to add a 20 and a 10. I just keep this little stack of cash here off to the side so that I don't get things mixed up. And then we will put that in here. And we'll count it up and make sure, like I said, that we have the 530 that I expect to have. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 20, 30. Perfect. I just recently went in and exchanged a lot of my smaller bills for some larger ones just to make the counting process quicker and also to help slim my accordion folder down. It was getting really, really fat because I had so many small bills in there. So I did that, and that has made it much easier. All right, so that goes back behind the Christmas tab, and next we move on to holidays. So as I mentioned, holidays are all of the major holidays that my family and I celebrate, basically outside of Christmas. So I have $30 currently in this fund. We had used quite a bit of money for Easter, as well as Mother's Day. So we're kind of building this fund back up again. So we are going to add $10 to this fund. And like I said, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up relatively quickly. You'd be surprised. So we're going to add $10 here. And this one's super easy to count. We have $20, $30, $40, which is exactly what I thought we should have. So that's perfect. That can go back behind the holidays tab. Next up is home maintenance. And this is one of these that I just started pretty recently, so it doesn't have a lot of money in it. But again, it adds up. So currently has $25 in this fund. Let me zoom you guys in a little bit. I always struggle with this part, knowing how far to zoom you guys in. So on the 26th, we are going to add $20, and today is actually not the 26th. Like I said, today's Friday, the 28th, maybe. But I always just write the date of the paycheck. That just makes it easier for me. So I don't have to figure out what day it is. Since we've all been stuck at home for so long, I don't even know what day of the month it is. Okay. So 25 plus 20 is 45. We'll add that 20 in there and count it up. 20, 45. Perfect. That's home maintenance. Next up is P.O. Box. So I do have a P.O. Box that I keep open. And it's not a very large expense. Honestly, this probably does not need to be a sinking fund because it's only like $50 a year, I think. However, most recently when that came due, I had completely forgotten about it. So I thought that making it a sinking fund would help me to remember. So I don't put a ton of money in this. It doesn't need to have a ton of money. It's just essentially a placeholder for me to remember that this comes due in April. So we're going to add $10 today, which will be a total of 20, so I'm already almost halfway to my goal. There we go, 10, 20. These little expenses like this that happen annually or semi-annually are the type of expenses that can really screw up your budget if you're not paying attention, if you forget that they're coming, you know. So that's why I love sinking funds. I love putting a little bit of money aside at a time. You don't even really miss that small amount of money, but you're very glad when you have it when those bills come due. And you don't have to take them out of your typical budget. All right. Lastly, for sinking funds, we have vacation. So even though we are actively trying to pay off debt, we are not gazelle intense, like Dave Ramsey says. We still take vacations, we still eat out, we still want to enjoy our lives. We don't want to be miserable for 2 years while we're paying off this debt. So we probably could pay debt off a lot quicker if we went gazelle intense, but it's just not the way that we've chosen to do things. So as you can see here, I've actually taken out quite a bit of money in the last week from my vacation fund. I had $425. We pulled out $150, and then we pulled out another $100 and another $5 just for various expenses at our campground. It was our first camping trip of the year, and that's always the most expensive, kind of getting everything set up, propane, this and that and the other. So we have dwindled this fund down a little bit. Now we're going to build it back up. So we're going to add $20 today. We had $170 in there after we did our various amounts of spending here. So we're gonna add another 20 and that'll bring it back up to 190. We're not taking huge vacations. We're not going to Hawaii or to, you know, Ireland or anything. We're just doing our typical camping trips. We originally had planned on going to an indoor water park. However, with the pandemic, even though that water park has actually opened up now, it was closed, obviously. They just opened it back up. We're still not comfortable going. So that trip has been canceled for this year. We'll probably go next summer. Still, this money is great to have on hand for expenses with our camping and other various things like that. Okay, so we have 50, 70, 90, 110, 130, 150, 170, 190. Perfect. And that'll go right behind our vacation tab. All right, so that takes care of all of our sinking funds. Only thing we have left is our extra savings, which is Savopoly. So Savopoly currently has $111. I had $211 in there as of last week, but I took out $100 to buy that blender. We bought a Ninja blender, I believe. We wanted to make pina coladas on our vacation. So we needed a new blender. Our old blender was like a $30 Hamilton Beach blender that had broken down. So we bought a blender. But that's what that money is for. You know, we saved it for such an occasion. We used it. We didn't have to swipe a credit card to buy our blender. So I'm happy with that. All right, so we are going to add $20 today. 111 plus 20, that's 131. So in my little stack of cash over here, I have just a 20 left, which is perfect. That means I did all of my math accurately. And now we will just add this up and make sure that we have $131. So we have 50, 70, 90, 110, 120, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. $131 just as expected. So that'll go back behind the Savopoly tab, and that takes care of our cash for the week. All right, you guys, so the budget has been gone over, the envelopes have been stuffed, and that is going to do it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. It's gonna wrap up our May budgets. We'll be moving into June next week, so be on the lookout for my June budget setup video. On Monday, I'll go through and show you guys all of the printables that I'm going to use for the month of June and get everything set up and ready. It's one of my favorite videos to film, so definitely if you are looking forward to that, make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss that video. You can click the little notification bell and it'll send you an update every time I upload. Try to upload on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of every week. Doesn't always happen, but I try. With my budget videos, typically my weekly budget videos going up on Fridays. So if you're into budget videos, definitely recommend that you subscribe. I do budget videos every single week, sometimes multiple budget videos in a week. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. And I will see you next time. Bye!